The Flower Ornament Scripture, Chapter 7, Names of the Buddha. At that time, the world-honored one had just attained true awakening in a forest sanctuary in the country of Magadha. Sitting on a lotus-bank lion throne in the hall of universal light, he fulfilled ineffable enlightenment, forever cutting off mundane ideas of transmigration and extinction. Arriving at truth without form, he dwelt in the abode of Buddhahood, attained the equanimity of the enlightened, reached the state of immutability in the realm where there are no barriers. Unhindered in action, he established the inconceivable, perceiving all in the past, present, and future. He was together with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha fields, all of whom were qualified to attain Buddhahood in their next lifetime. They had all gathered here from different regions. They skillfully observed the realms of sentient beings, the realm of the elemental cosmos, the realm of extinction, the consequences of all actions, the processes of mental behavior, the meanings of all statements, the mundane and the transmundane, the compounded and the uncompounded, the past, the present, and the future. At that time, the enlightening beings formulated these thoughts. If the world-honored one looks upon us with compassion, may he, in accord with our inclinations, reveal to us the Buddha fields, the Buddha's abodes, the adornments of the Buddha fields, the nature of Buddhahood, the purity of Buddha lands, the teachings expounded by the Buddhas, the substances and natures of the Buddha lands, the powers and qualities of the Buddhas, the formation of the Buddha fields, the great enlightenment of the Buddhas. Just as the Buddhas of all worlds in the 10 directions, in order to develop all enlightening beings, to cause the family of the enlightened ones to continue uninterrupted, to rescue all sentient beings, to cause all living beings to be forever free from all afflictions, to comprehend all actions, to expound all truths, to clear away all defilements, and to forever cut through all webs of doubt, explain the enlightening beings' 10 abodes, 10 practices, 10 dedications, 10 treasuries, 10 stages, 10 vows, 10 concentrations, 10 powers and 10 peaks, and explain the sphere of Buddhahood, the mystic forces of Buddhas, the actions of Buddhas, the powers of Buddhas, the fearlessness of Buddhas, the meditations of Buddhas, the psychic abilities of Buddhas, the freedom of Buddhas, the non-obstruction of Buddhas, the sense faculties of Buddhas, the powers of analysis and articulation of Buddhas, the knowledge and wisdom of Buddhas, and the transcendence of Buddhas. So also may the Buddha, the world-honored one, explain this for us. Then the Buddha, knowing what the enlightening beings were thinking, manifested mystic powers to them, according to their particular types. When he had done that, there came from a world called Golden, whose Buddha was called Immutable Knowledge, which was to the east, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha fields, an enlightening being of that world named Manju Shri, along with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha lands. When they arrived, they bowed, and then produced lotus-bank lion seats to the east and sat cross-legged on them. In the south, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, was a world called Sublime Color, with a Buddha called Unhindered Knowledge. There was an enlightening being there named Chief of the Awakened, who, together with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, came to the Buddha, bowed, and to the south produced lotus banks, lion seats, and sat cross-legged on them. In the west, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, was a world called Lotus Blossom Color, with a Buddha called darkness-destroying knowledge. There was an enlightening being there, named Chief in Riches of Truth, who, along with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, came to the Buddha, bowed, produced lotus-banked lion seats to the west, and sat cross-legged on them. In the north, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, was a world called Golden Flower Color, with a Buddha called Knowledge of Dignified Conduct. There was an enlightening being there, named Chief of the Precious, who, with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, came to the Buddha, bowed, produced lotus-banked lion seats to the north, and sat cross-legged on them. In the northeast, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, was a world called Blue Lotus Color, with a Buddha called Knowledge of Characteristics. There was an enlightening being there, called Chief of the Virtuous, who, with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, came to the Buddha, bowed, produced lotus-banked lion seats to the northeast, and sat cross-legged on them. In the southeast, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, was a world called Gold Color, with a Buddha called Ultimate Knowledge. There was an enlightening being there called Chief in Vision, who, with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, came to the Buddha, bowed, produced lotus-banked lion seats to the southeast, and sat cross-legged on them. In the southwest, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, was a world called Jewel Color, with a Buddha called Supreme Knowledge. There was an enlightening being there called Chief in Effort, who, with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, came to the Buddha, bowed, produced lotus-banked lion seats to the southwest, and sat cross-legged on them. In the northwest, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, was a world called Diamond Color, with a Buddha called Independent Knowledge. There was an enlightening being there called Chief in Doctrine, who, with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, came to the Buddha, bowed, produced lotus-banked lion seats to the northwest, and sat cross-legged on them. In the nadir, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, was a world called Crystal Color, with a Buddha called Pure Knowledge. There was an enlightening being there, called Chief in Knowledge, who, with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, came to the Buddha, bowed, produced lotus-banked lion seats in the nadir, and sat cross-legged on them. In the zenith, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, was a world called Equal Color, with a Buddha called Observing Knowledge. There was an enlightening being there, called Chief in Goodness, who, with as many enlightening beings as atoms in 10 Buddha lands, came to the Buddha, bowed, produced lotus-banked lion seats in the zenith, and sat cross-legged on them. Then the great enlightening being Manjushri, empowered by the Buddha, looked over all the congregations of enlightening beings and spoke these words. These enlightening beings are most rare. O children of Buddhas, the Buddha's lands are inconceivable. The Buddha's abodes, the adornments of their fields, the nature of Buddhahood, the purity of Buddha lands, the teachings of the Buddhas, the manifestation of the Buddhas, the formation of the Buddha lands, and the complete perfect enlightenment of the Buddhas are all inconceivable. Why? Because all the Buddhas in the worlds in the 10 directions know that the inclinations of sentient beings are not the same, and so they teach and train them according to their needs and capacities. The extent of this activity is equal to the realm of space of the cosmos. Children of Buddhas, in the 4 quarters of this world endurance, The Buddha with various bodies, names, forms, sizes, lifespans, situations, faculties, birthplaces, languages, and observations, causes all living beings to individually perceive and know differently. In these four quarters, the Buddha is sometimes called fulfiller of all aims, sometimes called the full moon, sometimes called the lion roarer, sometimes called Shakyamuni, sometimes called the seventh sage, sometimes called Vairochana, sometimes called Gautama, sometimes called the great mendicant, sometimes called the supreme, sometimes called the guide. There are 10,000 such names, individually letting beings know and see in various ways. East of this region is a world called good protection. There the Buddha may be called adamantine or free or possessor of knowledge and wisdom, or invincible or king of sages, or non-contention, or capable leader, or joyful heart, or incomparable, or beyond philosophy. There are 10,000 such names, individually letting sentient beings know and see in various ways. South of this region is a world called difficult to endure. There the Buddha may be called king of the gods, or precious name, or undefiled, or truth-teller, or tamer, or joyful, or great renown, or giver of aid, or infinite, or supreme. There are 10,000 such names, individually letting people know and see in various ways. West of this region is a world called personal wisdom. There the Buddha may be called God of waters, or gladdening sight, or supreme monarch, or celestial tamer, or real true wisdom, or arrived at the ultimate, or joyous, or objective knowledge, or done with all tasks, or abiding in goodness. There are 10,000 such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. North of this region is a world called Lion of Existence. There the Buddha may be called Great Sage, or Ascetic, or World-Honored One, or Supreme Field, or Omniscient, or Good Mind, or Pure, or Master of Universal Sound, or Supreme Giver, or attained by difficult practice. There are 10,000 such names, individually letting beings know and see in various ways. Northeast of this region is a world called Subtle Observation. There the Buddha may be called Demon Queller, or Completed, or Dispassionate, or Celestial Virtue, or Free from Greed, or Supreme Wisdom, or Equanimity of Mind, or Unconquerable, or Sound of Wisdom, or Rarely Appearing. There are 10,000 such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. Southeast of this region is a world called Joy and Happiness. There the Buddha may be called Ultimate Dignity, or Mass of Light Flames, or Universal Knower, or Secret Mystery, or Liberation, or Inherently Secure, or Acting According to Truth, or King of Pure Eyes, or Great Courage, or Energetic Power. There are 10,000 such names, causing beings to individually know and see in various ways. Southwest of this region is a world called Extremely Solid and Firm. There the Buddha may be called Peaceful Abiding, or King of Knowledge, or Complete, or Immutable, or Subtle Eye, or Supreme Monarch, or Sound of Freedom, or Giver of All, or Sages of the Masses, or Supreme Mountain. There are 10,000 such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. Northwest of this region is a world called Wonderful Ground. There the Buddha may be called Universal, or Flames of Light, or Jewel Topknot, or Worthy of Remembrance, or Unexcelled Meaning, or Always Joyful, or inherently pure, or sphere of light, or long arms, or abiding in the fundamental. There are 10,000 such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. Below this region is a world called Radiant Wisdom. The Buddha there may be called Collecting Roots of Goodness, or Lion-like, or Razor-like Intellect, or Golden Flames, or All-Knower, or Ultimate Sound, or Benefactor, or Arrived at the Ultimate, or God of Truth, or Universal Conqueror. There are 10,000 such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. Above this region is a world called Holding the Ground. There the Buddha may be called Possessor of Knowledge and Wisdom, or Pure Face, or Conscious Wisdom, or Leader, or Adorned by Conduct, or Gladdener, or Wish Fulfilled, or Blaze-like, or Ethical, or the One Path. There are 10,000 such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. In this world endurance, there are 100 billion regions, wherein the Buddha has 1,000,000 billion various names, letting all sentient beings know and see in various ways. East of this world endurance is another world, called Secret Teaching. There the Buddha may be called impartial, or excellent, or soother, or enlightening mind, or speaker of truth, or attainer of freedom, or supreme body, or great courage, or peerless knowledge. There are 1,000,000 billion such diverse names, letting beings know and see in various ways. South of this world endurance is another world called Abundance. There the Buddha may be called Original Nature, or Diligent Intellect, or Unexcelled Honored One, or Great Torch of Knowledge, or Non-Reliant, or Treasury of Light, or Treasury of Wisdom, or Treasury of Virtue, or God of Gods, or Great Independent One. There are 1,000,000 billion such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. West of this world endurance is a world called Undefiled. There the Buddha may be called Wish Fulfilled, or Knower of the Way, or Resting in the Fundamental, or Able to Untie Bonds, or Comprehending Truth, or Easily Discerning, or Supreme Insight, or Pacifying Action, or Ascetic Practicer, or Replete with Power. There are 1,000,000 billion such various names, letting beings know and see in various ways. North of this world endurance is a world called Inclusion. There the Buddha may be called Forever Free from Suffering, or Universal Liberation, or Great Hidden Treasury, or Knowledge of Liberation, or Storehouse of the Past, or Jewel Light, or Detached from the World, or State of Non-Obstruction, or Treasury of Pure Faith, or Imperturbable Mind. There are 1,000,000 billion such names, letting sentient beings know and see in various ways. Southeast of this world endurance is a world called Beneficial. There the Buddha may be called Manifesting Light, or Knowledge of Extinction, or Beautiful Sound, or Supreme Faculties, or Ornamental Canopy, or Energetic Faculties, or Arrived at the Other Shore Beyond Discrimination, or Supreme Stability, or Simple Speech, or Ocean of Wisdom. There are 1,000,000 such diverse names, letting beings know and see in various ways. Southwest of this world endurance is a world called Rarefied. There the Buddha may be called Master among Sages, or Possessor of all treasures, or Liberated from the world, or Faculty of universal knowledge, or excellent speech, or clear sight, or freedom of the senses, or great immortal teacher, or guiding work, or adamantine lion. There are 1,000,000 billion such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. Northeast of this world endurance is a world called joy. There the Buddha may be called mass of beautiful flowers, or sandalwood canopy, or lotus treasury, or transcendent beyond all things, or jewel of truth, or reborn, or pure exquisite canopy, or immense eye, or possessor of good qualities, or concentrated on the truth, or network treasury. There are 1,000,000 billion such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. Below this world endurance is a world called doorbolt. There the Buddha may be called producing flames, or poison queller, or bow of the King of Gods, or no constant location, or aware of the fundamental, or stopping increase, or great speed, or always gladly giving, or discerning the way, or banner of victory. There are 1,000,000 billion such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. Above this world endurance is a world called shaking sound. There the Buddha may be called banner of courage, or infinite treasure, or glad magnanimity, or celestial light, or appearance of good omen, or transcending objects, or master of all, or non-regressing wheel, or beyond all evil, or omniscient. There are 1,000,000 billion such names, letting beings know and see in various ways. As in this world endurance, so in the eastern direction, in hundreds of thousands of billions, countlessly, innumerably, boundlessly, incomparably, incalculably, unrecountably, unthinkably, immeasurably, unspeakably many worlds throughout the entire space of the cosmos, the names and epithets of the Buddhas are variously different. The same is true of the south, west, and north, the four intermediate directions, and the zenith and the nadir. Just as when the Buddha was an enlightening being, by means of various discussions, various speeches, various words, various actions, various consequences, various situations, various techniques, various faculties, various beliefs, and various stations, attained maturity, so he causes sentient beings to perceive in this way, teaching them thus.